Welcome back to Saharan Whispers, where the echoes of our ancestors come alive through stories of courage, connection, and ancient rhythms. Today, we follow Kalam, a bold young dancer from the village of Mbara. Known for his unmatched skill and boundless curiosity, Kalam dares to question the traditions that bind his people to the spirit world. But when the guardian Nzinga calls him on a journey beyond the veil, Kalam must face trials that will test not just his talent, but his heart and resolve. Will he uncover the truth hidden in the rhythm, or will he lose his way? Stay with us as we explore the story of the Dance of the Spirits, a journey to the spirit world. The village of Mbara buzzed with life. Drums echoed through the square, their deep beats calling to the ancestors. Dancers swayed in perfect harmony, their movements reflecting generations of tradition. At the heart of it all was Kalam, his feet moving like whispers on the earth, his body flowing as if he were born from the rhythm itself. But while the others danced to honor the past, Kalam danced for the sheer joy of it. Though skilled, his boldness often drew quiet disapproval. "Why do we still do this?" Kalam had asked Elder Ndaya earlier that day. "The ancestors are gone. Do you really think they're watching?" Elder Ndaya's face darkened, his voice stern. "You may dance well, Kalam, but you are blind to its meaning. The rhythm is not just music, it is our bond with the spirits. Lose it, and we lose ourselves." Kalam had shrugged, unconvinced. But as the festival carried on into the night, something in the air began to shift. Dancing near the sacred tree, Kalam suddenly felt a strange warmth ripple through his body. The world seemed to pause. The drums around him faded, and a soft glow appeared among the branches. A figure emerged, tall and radiant, her garments shimmering like mist. Her eyes glowed with an intensity that pinned Kalam to the spot. "Kalam," the figure said, her voice resonating inside his mind. "You dance well, but you do not yet know the rhythm." Who are you?" Kalam stammered. "I am Nzinga," she replied, "a guardian of the balance between the living and the spirits. Come with me, and I will show you the truth hidden in the rhythm." Before Kalam could answer, Nzinga's form dissolved into light, leaving him breathless. He stumbled back, the drums of the festival crashing back into his ears. But the vision lingered, and a single thought echoed in his mind. "I must go." Kalam couldn't shake the vision of Nzinga. The next morning, he approached the elders, his voice trembling as he recounted what he had seen. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging heavily in the air. Elder Ndaya stepped forward, his expression grave. "Nzinga has not called anyone to the spirit world in generations," Ndaya said. "It is a dangerous journey. Few who enter return unchanged." Kalam hesitated, unsure if he could handle what lay ahead. "What if I don't go?" "You've already been chosen," Ndaya replied. "The spirits do not forget." Reluctantly, the elder handed Kalam a carved pendant. "This will protect you. And remember, to lose the rhythm is to lose yourself." That night, under the full moon, Kalam returned to the sacred tree. The festival had ended, and the square was silent. Following the steps Ndaya had taught him, Kalam danced. The air shimmered, and the tree glowed with an otherworldly light. The ground beneath him dissolved, and Kalam felt himself falling, surrounded by waves of sound and color. When he landed, he was in a world unlike anything he had ever seen. The ground beneath him was smooth and reflective, like glass. The sky shifted with impossible colors, and glowing pathways stretched into infinity. Kalam's breath caught in his throat as Nzinga appeared beside him. "Welcome to the spirit world," she said. "Here, everything dances, the air, the earth, the stars, they all move with the rhythm. To survive, you must find your place within it. Nzinga led him to a path lined with drums, each emitting a distinct beat. "Follow me," she instructed. "But beware, if you lose the rhythm, the path will disappear." Kalam followed cautiously, his feet moving to the rhythm of the nearest drum. At first, it was easy, but as they progressed, the beats became irregular, shifting unpredictably. Kalam stumbled, and the ground beneath him began to crack. "Feel the rhythm," Nzinga called. "Don't fight it. Become part of it." Closing his eyes, Kalam let the rhythm guide him. He stopped trying to control his movements and began to flow with the music. The cracks in the path sealed, and Kalam breathed a sigh of relief. "You've passed the first test," Nzinga said, "but more lie ahead." Kalam followed Nzinga deeper into the spirit world. The glowing paths around them began to dim, and the air grew heavier. Soon, they arrived at an open plain, filled with flickering shadows. The shapes darted around him, whispering and laughing, their voices high-pitched and grating. "These are trickster spirits," Nzinga explained. "They mimic, confuse, and mislead. They will trap you if you cannot lead them. Find your rhythm, and they will follow." Kalam's heart raced as the shadows began to circle him. Every movement he made, they copied, twisting his gestures into chaotic imitations. He took a step forward, and they mirrored him, their mimicry growing more erratic. "They're toying with me," Kalam muttered. Nzinga watched silently from a distance, offering no help. Kalam closed his eyes, remembering Ndaya's words. "To lose the rhythm is to lose your way." Taking a deep breath, Kalam began to dance, not cautiously, but boldly. He created a rhythm entirely his own, his steps unpredictable and confident. The tricksters faltered, their mimicry breaking. Some dissolved into light, while others stumbled and retreated. As Kalam's rhythm grew stronger, the last of the shadows disappeared. He exhaled in relief, his body trembling from the effort. Nzinga approached, her expression neutral. "You are learning," she said, "but balance is not just about outsmarting chaos." Kalam followed Nzinga into a grove unlike anything he had ever seen. Trees glowed faintly, their trunks inscribed with swirling patterns that seemed to move. The air was thick with whispers, low and mournful, as if the forest itself was alive with longing. "These are the forgotten," Nzinga said. "They are the spirits of ancestors whose names have faded into silence. You must honor them, or they will not let you pass." The whispers grew louder, and ghostly figures began to emerge from the glowing trees. One spirit stepped forward, its hollow eyes glowing faintly. "Why do you disturb us?" the spirit asked, its voice filled with sorrow. "We are forgotten, abandoned by the living. Do you remember us, child?" Kalam's throat tightened. "I don't know your names," he admitted, "but I came to learn. If your stories have been forgotten, I promise to carry them forward." The spirits murmured among themselves, their tones uncertain. "Words are easy," the lead spirit said. "What will you offer us in return?" Kalam hesitated, then knelt, placing a hand on the earth. "I offer my promise. Your stories will not die. Your voices will be heard again. I will honor you in every step I take, in every dance I create." The spirits fell silent. Then the lead spirit stepped forward, a faint smile crossing its face. "Your heart speaks truth. We accept your vow." A glowing bead emerged from the spirit's chest, and it placed it in Kalam's hand. Take this. It will guide you." As the grove faded behind him, Nzinga reappeared, her expression thoughtful. "You now carry the weight of their voices. Honor them, and they will guide you. But the guardians await, and their trial will demand even more of you." Callum clutched the bead tightly and nodded. "I'm ready." The air grew heavier as Callum followed Nzinga to the base of a towering hill. From the mist emerged the spirit guardians, colossal glowing figures that radiated power. Each one was unique. One stood like a statue of solid stone, another shifted like smoke in the wind, and the third gleamed with veins of golden light. Nzinga stopped. "This is where I leave you again," she said. "The guardians will test not your strength, but your resolve and purpose. Fail, and your journey ends here." Callum's heartbeat quickened. "How do I prove myself?" "They will decide," Nzinga replied before stepping into the mist. The first guardian stepped forward, its voice like thunder. "Show us your resolve." A drum appeared at Callum's feet, its rhythm steady and deep. Callum began to move, his steps syncing with the beat. But the rhythm quickly shifted, faster, then slower, and then unpredictable. Callum stumbled, and cracks formed beneath his feet. "Feel the rhythm," he told himself, letting go of fear. His movements became fluid, adapting to the changes. Slowly, the ground steadied, and the guardian stepped back. The second guardian approached, its form shifting like smoke. "Prove you can honor the past while creating something new." 3 rhythms sounded at once, one steady and familiar, another sharp and erratic, and the third soft and flowing. Callum hesitated, but then he began to blend the rhythms, moving in harmony with all 3. His dance became a fusion of tradition and innovation. The guardian nodded and retreated. The final guardian, the most imposing of all, loomed over Callum. "Prove your purpose," it commanded, its voice colder than the others. Before Callum appeared a reflection of himself, hesitant and filled with doubt. "You will never be enough," the reflection whispered. Its movements were weak and stumbling, mocking his confidence. Callum clenched his fists. "You do not define me," he said firmly. He began to dance with bold, deliberate steps. The reflection faltered, its form flickering before shattering into light. The last guardian bowed. "You have proven your worth. You may continue." As the guardians faded, Nzinga reappeared, her face showing a hint of pride. "The hall of the eternal dance awaits. It is the heart of the spirit world and the source of all rhythm. Align with it, or you will be lost." Callum took a deep breath, his resolve unshaken. "I'm ready." Nzinga led Callum through a shimmering pathway, the air vibrating with a faint hum. Ahead, a massive structure loomed, glowing as though carved from starlight and ancient stone. The hall of the eternal dance stretched impossibly high, its arches pulsing with energy. From within came a deep, resonant rhythm that seemed to echo through Callum's very bones. "This is the heart of the spirit world," Nzinga said. "Its rhythm sustains the balance between the living and the spirits. If you fail to align with it, you will be trapped here forever." Callum swallowed hard, but nodded. "What must I do?" "You must join the eternal dance," Nzinga replied. "Find your place in the rhythm, or be consumed by it." The doors opened, and Callum stepped inside. The hall was vast, its floor a glowing expanse that shifted with the rhythm. Spirits moved in perfect harmony, their steps weaving an intricate pattern that sustained the music. Callum hesitated, his breath catching as the sheer power of the rhythm overwhelmed him. He tried to mimic the spirits, but their movements were too precise, too fast. His steps faltered, and the light beneath him dimmed. The rhythm grew louder, more chaotic, and Callum felt the ground begin to dissolve under his feet. "Find your rhythm, Callum," Nzinga's voice echoed in his mind, though she was nowhere to be seen. Callum closed his eyes and let the rhythm wash over him. Instead of mimicking the spirits, he focused inward, drawing on the lessons of his journey. He remembered the balance of the forgotten voices, the leadership he had shown with the trickster spirits, and the fusion of old and new he had created with the guardians. Slowly, he began to move, not trying to match the spirits, but blending his unique rhythm into theirs. The hall responded. The floor beneath Callum glowed brighter, and the spirits began to shift, adapting their movements to include his. The rhythm grew fuller, richer, as Callum's steps became a part of the eternal dance. When the music finally faded, the spirits turned to Callum and bowed. Nzinga appeared beside him, a proud smile on her face. "You have restored the balance," she said. "The rhythm now carries your voice. It is time for you to return." She placed a glowing pendant around Callum's neck. "This will guide you as you carry the rhythm back to your people. Remember, the balance must be nurtured, not just restored." The hall's doors opened, and Callum stepped through, leaving the spirit world behind. The sacred tree greeted him, its branches swaying gently in the morning light. For the first time, Callum felt not fear, but peace. Callum awoke beneath the sacred tree as the first light of dawn painted the horizon. The festival drums had fallen silent, leaving only the faint rustle of leaves in the cool morning air. The glowing pendant around his neck pulsed softly, a reminder of all he had seen and learned. He took a deep breath, feeling a sense of clarity he had never known. As Callum made his way back to the village, the elders and a few villagers noticed his approach. Whispers spread quickly. His presence was different, his steps more grounded, his gaze filled with purpose. Elder Ndaya stepped forward, his expression a mix of awe and relief. "You returned," Ndaya said. "Few who enter the spirit world do." Callum nodded. "Nzinga guided me, but the spirits tested me. I saw the forgotten, the tricksters, and the guardians. I stood in the hall of the eternal dance and restored the rhythm." The crowd around him grew, their faces a mixture of curiosity and reverence. "What did the spirits show you?" someone asked. "They showed me that our dance, our music, and our stories are more than tradition," Callum said. "They are the bridge between us and the ancestors. When we forget them, the balance falters. But when we honor them, we are whole." Callum stepped toward the center of the square, where the drums sat waiting. He turned to the drummers, who took their places, sensing that something extraordinary was about to happen. The first beat sounded, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat. Callum began to move, his steps carrying the weight of the journey he had undertaken. His dance was unlike anything the villagers had seen before, a fusion of tradition and innovation, bold yet deeply respectful. The villagers watched in awe as Callum's movements told the story of his journey. One by one, others joined him. First the children, then the elders, until the entire village danced together. The rhythm grew richer, fuller, uniting everyone in a single, harmonious flow. Elder Ndaya, who rarely danced, stood at the edge of the circle, his hand tapping against his walking stick. Finally, he stepped forward, striking a drum of his own. The crowd erupted in cheers as the elder nodded to Callum, his eyes filled with pride. As the dance came to an end, the villagers stood breathless but exhilarated. Callum raised the pendant for all to see, its glow faint but steady. "The spirits gave us this rhythm," he said. "It lives in all of us. It's not enough to remember it during the festival. We must carry it every day. The villagers murmured in agreement, their faces glowing with renewed purpose. Kalam smiled, his heart swelling with pride and humility. For the first time, he felt truly connected to his people and the ancestors who had guided him. Nzinga's voice echoed softly in his mind. Lead them well, Kalam. Honor the rhythm. Months had passed since Kalam's journey to the spirit world, but its impact continued to ripple through the village. The sacred tree had become more than a symbol of tradition. It was now a living reminder of the balance Kalam had helped restore. The villagers, once hesitant about their fading customs, embraced the rhythm with renewed passion. Kalam stood in the square one evening, surrounded by a group of children eager to learn. The drums were silent for now, but their energy lingered in the air. Kalam knelt, holding the glowing pendant in his hand, and spoke gently. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. One child, barely 8, raised her hand. "The spirits gave it to you, right? To help us remember?" Kalam smiled. "Yes, but it's more than a gift. It's a promise. Our ancestors gave us stories, dances, and music so we could stay connected. It's up to us to keep that connection alive. Will you help me carry the rhythm forward?" "Yes!" the children shouted in unison, their voices brimming with excitement. As the first drumbeat sounded, Kalam rose and began to move. His steps were deliberate and simple, breaking down the rhythm into something the children could follow. They copied his movements eagerly, their laughter echoing across the square. One by one, adults joined the children, blending their own steps with Kalam's. The drummers picked up the pace, creating a beat that was both familiar and fresh. The square came alive with motion, every generation dancing as one. Elder Ndaya sat by the fire, watching with a rare smile. As the rhythm grew stronger, he stood, lifting a drum that had long been idle. His hands struck the surface with surprising vigor, and the crowd cheered as the elder nodded at Kalam with approval. By the time the dance ended, the square was filled with a joyous energy. Kalam stepped back, watching as the children continued to practice their steps. The pendant around his neck glowed faintly, a quiet reminder of the journey that had brought him here. Ndaya approached him, leaning on his walking stick. "You've done more than restore the rhythm, Kalam. You've given us a future." Kalam smiled but spoke humbly. "The rhythm was always here. I just reminded everyone where to find it." Nzinga's voice echoed softly in his mind. "You have fulfilled your promise, Kalam. The rhythm is eternal, and it will guide those who honor it." Kalam turned back to the square, watching the younger generation move with enthusiasm and confidence. The rhythm, once on the brink of being forgotten, now pulsed through the village with new life. For the first time, Kalam felt not only peace, but purpose. The rhythm of the ancestors would never fade, not as long as the village continued to dance, sing, and remember. Thank you for joining us on Kalam's incredible journey in the dance of the spirits. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what part of Kalam's journey resonated with you the most. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Saharan Whispers for more tales that celebrate the rhythm of our ancestors and the spirit of storytelling. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an adventure. Until next time, keep the rhythm alive.